She wasn't Egyptian. She didn't die from a snake bite, and she definitely wasn't the seductive beauty Hollywood made her out to be. Almost everything you think you know about Cleopatra, history's most famous queen, is a lie. Today, we're exposing the truth behind 2,000 years of propaganda. Before we uncover these historical lies, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're exposing history's biggest misconceptions every week. Now let's separate fact from fiction. Cleopatra VII. The name conjures images of exotic beauty, forbidden romance, and ancient Egyptian mystique. Elizabeth Taylor's 1963 portrayal cemented an image that has persisted for decades. A breathtakingly beautiful seductress who manipulated the most powerful men in Rome. But here's the problem. Almost none of it is true. The real Cleopatra was far more complex and politically savvy than history has given her credit for. She ruled Egypt for 22 years, from 51 to 30 BCE. And the stories we've been told? They were largely created by her enemies, Roman propagandists who needed to justify their conquest of Egypt. Today we're going through 10 of the biggest lies about Cleopatra. And trust me, the truth is way more interesting than the myths. Lie number 1. Cleopatra was Egyptian. Despite being the queen of the Nile, Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian at all. She was ethnically Greek, specifically Macedonian Greek. Her lineage traces back to Ptolemy Soter, a Macedonian general who served under Alexander the Great. When Alexander died in 323 BCE, his empire was divided. Ptolemy got Egypt, founding the Ptolemaic dynasty. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE in Alexandria, a predominantly Greek city. Her name itself is Greek, meaning glory of her father. For 300 years, her family ruled Egypt while maintaining their Greek culture and language. What makes Cleopatra exceptional? She was the first ruler in her dynasty to actually learn Egyptian. While her predecessors refused to speak to their subjects in their native tongue, Cleopatra was fluent in Egyptian. She reportedly spoke at least 7 other languages. This earned her genuine respect from the Egyptian people. Lie number 2. She was stunningly beautiful. Hollywood has sold us Elizabeth Taylor, Vivian Leigh, and a vision of unparalleled beauty. The truth? Ancient coins bearing Cleopatra's image show a very different story. A woman with a prominent hooked nose, strong jawline, and masculine features. Even Roman historian Plutarch, writing a century after her death, said something interesting. Her beauty was not altogether incomparable, nor such as to strike those who saw her. That's historian speak for, she wasn't that pretty. So what was her secret? Plutarch continues with this, but converse with her had an irresistible charm. Her presence, combined with the persuasiveness of her discourse, had something stimulating about it. It was her charisma, intelligence, wit, and commanding presence. Her voice was described as sweet. She could speak multiple languages fluently, switching between them effortlessly in diplomatic meetings. The beautiful seductress narrative was propaganda, spread by Octavian to justify his war against her, to paint Mark Antony as a traitor, bewitched by an exotic temptress. Lie number 3, she seduced her way to power. This is perhaps the most damaging myth. The idea that she used sex to manipulate powerful Roman men. When Cleopatra met Julius Caesar in 48 BCE, she was already a queen. She'd been ruling Egypt for 3 years. She didn't seduce anyone to become powerful, she was born into power. Her relationships with Caesar and Mark Antony were strategic political alliances. Egypt was wealthy but vulnerable. Rome was the reigning superpower. Professor Prudence Jones from Montclair State University emphasizes this. Cleopatra understood that for Egypt to remain independent, it needed a powerful Roman protector. After Caesar's assassination, Rome plunged into civil war. Cleopatra's alliance with Antony wasn't about love, it was survival. Egypt needed Rome, and Antony needed Egypt's resources. It was mutually beneficial. Yes, they had relationships and children, but reducing Cleopatra to a seductress ignores her political acumen, diplomatic skills, and strategic intelligence. Lie number 4, she died from a snake bite. The dramatic image of Cleopatra allowing a poisonous asp to bite her has captivated imaginations for 2,000 years. But we have no idea if that's actually how she died. The asp story comes from Roman accounts, but even contemporary historians were skeptical. The type of snake described, an Egyptian cobra, would have been quite large, nearly impossible to smuggle into her heavily guarded quarters. Also, cobra bites are extremely painful and don't guarantee quick death. German historian Christoph Schaefer proposes a more plausible theory: a deadly poison cocktail, possibly opium, hemlock, and wolfsbane. Ancient sources mention she tested various poisons on condemned prisoners to find the most painless method. After Mark Antony's defeat and suicide in 30 BCE, Cleopatra faced capture by Octavian. She chose death over the humiliation of being paraded through Rome as a prisoner. The method? That remains one of history's mysteries. Lie. Rep. 5. She was just a tragic romantic heroine. Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra immortalized them as one of history's greatest tragic love stories. This narrative reduces Cleopatra to a woman defined by her relationships with men. This dismisses who she actually was: a skilled politician, diplomat, military strategist, and ruler. She navigated one of the most dangerous periods in Mediterranean history. Cleopatra ruled for 22 years, longer than many male contemporaries. She personally led naval fleets, negotiated complex treaties, implemented economic reforms. She was fluent in multiple languages and studied philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. The 2013 discovery of papyrus fragments revealed detailed administrative records from her reign. Logistics documents, trade agreements, bureaucratic records, showing the massive complexity of running Egypt. She was a monarch first. Her relationships served political purposes. To reduce her to a romantic heroine ignores her genuine accomplishments. Lie in the Murder 6. She was frivolous and wasteful. Popular depictions show Cleopatra as extravagant, bathing in milk, dissolving pearls in wine, draining Egypt's treasury on luxuries. Some stories have truth but are wildly exaggerated. Yes, when she met Mark Antony in 41 BCE, she arrived on a golden barge, dressed as Aphrodite with attendants as Cupids. Pure theater, and it worked. But this wasn't frivolity, it was propaganda and statecraft. Projecting divine status and wealth was essential for maintaining power. In the ancient world, spectacle was politics. Under Cleopatra's rule, Egypt remained one of the wealthiest kingdoms. She maintained complex trade networks, managed vast agricultural resources, kept Egypt's economy strong despite Roman pressure. The wasteful queen narrative was Roman propaganda, painting her as an irresponsible foreign monarch who needed conquering. Lie. Dr. 7. She ruthlessly murdered her siblings. Yes, Cleopatra was involved in some siblings' deaths, but this wasn't unusual. It was standard for royal succession in the ancient world. She initially co-ruled with younger brother Ptolemy III. Their relationship deteriorated into civil war. Ptolemy III drowned in the Nile during battle in 47 BCE while fleeing Caesar's forces. Sister Arsinoe IV actively opposed her. She was eventually executed at Cleopatra's request to Mark Antony. Arsinoe had declared herself queen and posed a genuine threat. Second brother husband Ptolemy XIII died under mysterious circumstances, around when Cleopatra named Caesarion, her son with Caesar, as co-ruler. Was Cleopatra ruthless? Absolutely. But she operated in a brutal political environment where failure meant death. Her male contemporaries, Caesar, Octavian, Antony, regularly eliminated rivals and family members, yet they're rarely characterized as murderous the way she is. Lie number 5. She willingly married her brothers. The idea that Cleopatra chose to marry her brothers is used to paint her as deviant or exotic. The truth is far less scandalous. Incestuous royal marriages were Ptolemaic tradition, designed to keep bloodlines pure and prevent power dispersing. This wasn't unique to Egypt. Many royal families practiced similar customs. Cleopatra married Ptolemy III when she was 18 and he was 10. After his death, she married Ptolemy XIV, who was around 12. These weren't romantic partnerships, they were political necessities for legitimacy. Cleopatra had no choice. These marriages were required by tradition. The moment she had enough power and Roman backing, she stopped marrying family members. She formed alliances with Caesar and Antony, who could provide real military and political support. The romantic narrative suggests Cleopatra took her life out of grief. This is the Shakespearean tragedy version. After losing the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, both fled to Alexandria. Octavian's forces pursued them. Antony, receiving false reports that Cleopatra had died, stabbed himself. When she heard, she had him brought to her, and he died in her arms. But Cleopatra didn't immediately follow. She negotiated with Octavian, trying to secure safety for herself and her children. She was looking for any way to maintain her position or save her children's lives. Only when it became clear Octavian planned to parade her through Rome as a war prize did she choose suicide. Ultimate humiliation for a queen who considered herself divine. Octavian wanted her alive for his triumph, which is why her quarters were heavily guarded. Her suicide wasn't about lost love. It was about maintaining dignity and refusing to be used as a political prop in Octavian's propaganda. Lie Naran 10. She was a witch or sorceress. This myth appears in subtle forms. The idea that Cleopatra used supernatural means to enchant powerful men, or practiced dark Egyptian magic. This narrative strips her of genuine abilities, attributes her success to mystical forces rather than intelligence and political skill. The truth is simpler and more impressive. Cleopatra was extraordinarily well educated. She studied at the Library of Alexandria, one of the ancient world's greatest centers of learning. She trained in rhetoric, philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. Her magical ability came from being fluent in at least 7 languages, understanding different cultures, adapting to different audiences. She could speak to Greek philosophers in Greek, Egyptian priests in Egyptian, Roman senators in Latin, seamlessly switching between languages and cultural references. The sorceress label was propaganda. In the ancient world, powerful women were often accused of magic, because people couldn't accept that a woman could be genuinely intelligent and politically skilled. As Plutarch noted, Cleopatra's real power came from her irresistible charm in conversation, commanding presence, and persuasiveness of her discourse. She was brilliant, charismatic, and knew how to command a room. So there you have it. 10 lies about Cleopatra that history got wrong. The real Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian, wasn't a great beauty, didn't seduce her way to power, and probably didn't die from a snake bite. What she was is far more impressive. A highly educated, politically brilliant, multilingual diplomat who ruled one of the ancient world's most powerful kingdoms for over 2 decades, in an era dominated by men. The myths tell us less about who she really was, and more about how history treats powerful women, reducing them to relationships, physical appearance, or supposed feminine wiles, rather than acknowledging genuine abilities. Cleopatra deserves to be remembered not as Hollywood's exotic seductress, but as one of history's most skilled and intelligent rulers. If this video changed how you think about Cleopatra, hit that like button, subscribe, because we're tackling more historical myths every week. What other historical figures deserve to have their stories corrected? Drop your suggestions in the comments. We read everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.